Hello, I'm Robin from Neve, and I'd like to introduce you to our new product here, which is a 2264A designed into a lunchbox format. This is the 2264ALB. This finishes off the trilogy of 500 series modules that Neve have produced over the past year. It complements the mic pre and the EQ. The 2264ALB is a faithful reproduction of the original 2264A with some small changes in it to make it more usable in modern day recording and mixing. I'd like to start by showing the functionality of the unit and how close, obviously you'll see, it is to the original 2264. We have the top control here is the threshold control for the limiter. The next control down here is the threshold control for the compressor. And the next control here is the gain makeup knob for the compressor. These controls are potentiometers as opposed to the 2264A, which had stepped attenuators. However, we've made the range the same, so the control is very similar to the original 2264, which will make any engineer very comfortable to use it with. On the pots, we have push buttons on each of them. The push button for the threshold will be to switch the limiter in and out. The push button here for the compressor threshold will switch the compressor in and out. And the push button on this pot here will be able to be used to be able to link two compressors together when used in stereo mode. The dual concentric switches here follow exactly the same functionality as the 2264A. The top one here is for the limiter recovery, which has the same settings as the 2264A. The second one down here is for the recovery for the compressor. Again, exactly the same. And the third one here will select the ratio, which again is exactly the same as the 2264A. You'll also notice we have the bypass in and out switch at the bottom here. And as I was saying earlier, we have brought this up to date in its functionality by adding a slow attack switch here as well. Now this is very useful now because you now get two attack times for the compressor. One attack time for when you're tracking and you want to use it to ride a vocal with. And then another attack time, which is a slower attack time when you say you want to use the compressor as a bus compressor. The last feature on the front panel that I'd like to talk about is the gain reduction meter, which has 6 LEDs ranging from 2, 4, 8, 16 and 20 dBs worth of gain reduction indication. I particularly want to point out the 2 dB gain reduction LED, which will be specifically very useful for when you're trying to add a tiny amount of compression to a signal, and it wants to be very subtle and you want to see that actually happening. When designing the unit to package the 2264A into the LB format, I had to make sure that we followed the exact design criteria of the original module, much the same as we did with the 1073 mic pre and the 1073 EQ. So taking from the original design, the first thing you'll see here are the two transformers. One is the line input transformer, and one of the transformers is the transformer that recuperates some of the gain from the diode bridge, which is expressly used in this design. And this transformer here is the same original output transformer as used in the same design. The Class A output stage is basically a 440 here, using discrete transistors. And here we have the diode bridge and the buffer amplifier system that follows it, again in discrete components. It was very important that all of these parts of this design were incorporated into the LB design so as to give it its same sonic characteristic and excellence that it had before. And not only did we pay very close attention to the discrete parts of the design, the transformers, but also in the audio path we've maintained the same coupling arrangements using tantalum capacitors or through-hole electrolytic capacitors. You will notice that there is quite amount of surface mount into this design, but this part of the surface mount is really on the periphery of the sort of the main unit, and it's just used really into the side chain of the design, and also for things like the signal LED indication here, which is a signal indicator LED which will go from either looking at -25 up to about +26. And also here, which is a little a chip to drive the meter. But the original design is solely discrete Class AB and is exactly the same as the 2264A.